outside, so that's how you buy something. For those joining us online, we send special greetings to you. We hope you take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat box. After service, you're all invited to a virtual coffee hour. For those joining us in person, we gently remind you to please silence your mobile devices at this time. And now let us prepare for this morning's service. Opening words today come from Rabbi Brant Rosen of the Jewish Voice for Peace. It's called Jerusalem Has Fallen, a Final Lament. If they told us it was idolatry that brought down the temple the first time and unmitigated hatred the second time around, now that Jerusalem has fallen once more, what will they say now? They will say it's finally time to draw back the curtain in the Holy of Holies to confess your false gods once and for all. They will say it's finally time to admit that this place you call a city of peace has never known a moment of peace. The city conquered and reconquered, the city of promises, unkept and dreams unfulfilled, the city of return from which there is no return. They will say our insistency of flags will not hide our crimes. Just draw back the curtain and face your illusions. You cannot save democracy that never was. You cannot claim a peace that that can never be owned. Your liberation is no liberation at all, while it is founded on the dispossession of the Palestinians. They will say it's time to stop our mourning for something that never was and never can be. So let's cease our keening, our unending lamentations, and clear away the fallen stones. It's time to let go of this God-forsaken city, this land of idolatrous stone worship, this crime scene of unceasing bloodshed, that we may uncover the place where God truly dwells, the place where liberation is extended far beyond these walls, beyond the river and the sea, a Jerusalem of the heavens for all who dwell on earth. It's now time for our chalice lighting. I invite you to join me in lighting our chalice. You can find the affirmation in our order of service. We light this chalice in the search for truth and the spirit of love. We unite in worship and fellowship. As an extension of lighting our chalice, I want to take a moment of silence to light these candles for some of the names of those who have recently been affected by police brutality. We cannot cover all the names of those affected. We light a candle for the life of Louis C. Gordon Hay. We light a candle for the life of Kevion Jones. We light a candle for the life of Darren Shaw. May these lights be a symbol of our commitment to continue the work of racial justice and to proclaim that Black Lives Matter. Please join us in singing in hymn 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, in your gray hymn.
This is a round. We'll sing it in one part, but if you listen real carefully, you'll hear the second group outside of the yard sale singing along. Please rise and join us. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leading, dragons of caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, come, whoever wanderer, worshiper, lover of leading. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leading. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leading. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leading. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Now is the time for joys and sorrows. We invite you all to share your joys and sorrows. If you are visiting us for the first time, please introduce yourself. For those who are gathering in person, we invite you to raise your hand and then stand where you are seated. I will give you the microphone to share your joy or sorrow. We invite you to share what's in your heart. For those who are joining us online, we invite you to type into the chat box your joys and sorrows. Sally will read them aloud. We invite you to share also what's in your heart.
Good morning, I'm Kevin Clark. As many of you know, my wife Carolyn has been taking chemotherapy for cancer, but Thursday she took her last set, her sixth set of chemotherapy. The PA told us there is no additional treatment plan, and if all goes well, she gave us a date. She said 8 weeks. Hopefully Carolyn will be back to where she was before and have the energy to get up and around. So we're very much looking forward to that. But please keep us in your prayers and your thoughts. Thank you.
Good morning. I haven't been here in a few years. I've been in college since 2021. I'm a junior now, and I'm a self-advocate for people with disabilities that don't have a voice. And also, my birthday is in November. I turned 35. And also, one last thing, I'm going to be moving to a new location in Staten Island. So, yeah, a lot of changes happening.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Randy? Oh, okay. Anybody else?
I just wanted to give an update. My name is Mary Hernandez, my husband James. Probably most of you know I had to go in for emergency surgery at the beginning of May. And we've been looking to schedule a date where he could get another surgery that would make everything okay. So we finally have that scheduled for November 6th. And he's so happy about it that he scheduled a pop-up concert today, and it's not quite perfect. His band Peace Train. So if you want to go to the art sale and then head over to the bench show, and they're playing near Harbor, across from the cottages and so on. Thank you. Yes. Hi, my name is Rose. I just wanted to say hello again. I've been in Florida for a couple of months and traveling
South, in Tennessee and Mississippi and so on. Let me tell you, thank God I live here, and thank God we have New York, because there's a vast difference in our liberties, in our economies and everything else. Mississippi is, you wouldn't know that generations and centuries passed since so many things went on in Mississippi. It really hasn't progressed that much educationally, economically, and other ways. So thank God, and I pray for some of what we have here in the north to pass through to the south. Florida was okay, it's like here, but Mississippi was a lot. Thank you.
Sally? Sally, do you have anyone?
No, not,
No? Okay. Thank you for your joys and sorrows. We have heard shared in our community, and for all those that have gone unspoken. May the attention and care we give each other and those beyond the space remind us that we are not alone. It's time for meditation. I will offer a quote to focus our meditation and then ring the bell. At that point, I invite you to begin the meditation with 3 deep breaths. After a few minutes, I will ring the bell again to mark the end of our time. Today's quote, and I thank David for this, Patrol Rinpoche, is as follows: perfectly stay in the natural flow. There is no other concentration. Perfectly realize the natural state. There is no other wisdom. Our reading will be given by our honored guest, Dr. Karen Steele, 2 poems from Gaza.
I'm going to read 2 poems by the poet Mossad Abu Toha, who's from his book, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear, Poems from Gaza. The first one is untitled. A father wakes up at night, sees the random colors on the walls, drawn by his 4-year-old son. But he's dead after an airstrike. The colors are about 4 feet high. Next year, they would be 5 or 6. But the painter is dead, and the museum has no new paintings to show. The second one is called A Rose Shoulders Up. Don't ever be surprised to see a rose shoulder up among the ruins of the house. This is how we survived.
Thank you, Karen. We will now take an offering, and we know it is the gifts of all of us that help support our ability to thrive and gather. For those attending in person, we invite you to drop your offering into the collection plate. For those online, links and instructions will be posted in the chat. You can mail us a check or donate through the PayPal giving page on our website. Please give as generously as you can. Our offerings will be gratefully received. Thank you. In our offertory hymn, One More Step, in your great hymn. Thank you.
Number 168. Please rise, sing with us. One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more
Retired after a career in academic administration at Queensborough Community College, CUNY, Dr. Karen Steele is a member of the Unitarian Church of All Souls in New York and is co-chair of All Souls chapter of Unitarian Universalist for Justice in the Middle East. Since 2013, the All Souls chapter has pursued education and outreach on the increasingly dire situation of Palestinians in Israel and Palestine. UUJME members advocate for Palestinian rights through work with solidarity groups such as Jewish Voice for Peace, Americans for Justice in Palestine, the USA Palestinian Mental Health Network, Rebuilding Alliance, Churches for Middle East Peace, U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, and FOSNA. With the national UUJME, Karen has helped plan UUJME programs at General Assembly, serves on the strategic planning team, and attends monthly meetings of UUJME chapter chairs and UUJME legislative working group. In October 2019, she traveled with a group of Unitarian Universalists from the Arlington, Virginia congregation on a dual narrative trip to Israel and Palestine. She is now on the national board for UUJME, which is a founding member of the National Apartheid for Communities campaign.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank Sarah Rachel Walters for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to visit your congregation my first time here. Last weekend, I attended the Palestine Rights Festival in Philadelphia. Authors and readers were everywhere. Historians, novelists, poets, photographers, filmmakers, human rights advocates, legendary and newer voices, like two young poets from Gaza, Masad Abu Toha and Yahya Ashur. The organization I will be talking about this morning, Unitarian Universalists for Justice in the Middle East, or UUJME, organized a webinar last October with Yahya Ashur, and I'd like to share one of his poems, A Gray Man from a Gray Land. I go to the sea by myself, a gray man from a gray land. No jasmine in my pocket to gift it to the beach. I go by the cinema of the sky for a delayed prayer, for childhood still lost. I go looking for those who go to the sea by themselves. But there, I freeze on my chair. I don't dare to walk side by side with all these waves. There, I freeze on my chair. Nothing else a gray man like me can do in front of all of this blue. I chose the title for today's talk, The Key in the Bulldozer, by naming two symbols. The key, representing all the keys to their houses carried by hundreds of thousands of Palestinians pushed from their homes in Palestine during the 1947-48 Nakba, or catastrophe. They expected to return home, but were herded into Gaza and refugee camps in eastern Palestine and neighboring countries, and they were denied any right to return to their homes of generations. And these are big keys. I have a picture in the back. The second symbol is the bulldozer, seen almost daily demolishing Palestinian houses in East Jerusalem, or homes and schools and cisterns and olive trees in villages throughout the West Bank. Some of you will remember the armored bulldozer that crushed Rachel Corrie in Gaza in March 2003. As all the major human rights organizations have attested, Israel's discriminatory laws, separate judicial systems, rapidly expanding settlements, and its blatantly planned displacement of Palestinians, all of this violates international law. It is apartheid as defined by international law. So how do we respond? There are overwhelming crises everywhere. Climate emergency, earthquakes, fires, floods, starvation, warfare, racism, vast inequality, attacks on personal and communal freedom and democracy. As Unitarian Universalists, we draw strength from coming together in our quest for truth, spiritual sustenance, and commitment to act in service to the broader community. Palestinians need our support, and they need our action. The big question for me has been, what kind of action? What can I do that could make a difference? How can I act with respect for common humanity in the face of actions that are designed to silence and crush? These oppressive actions can be the rapidly expanding settlements, or Israeli laws that prevent Palestinian couples from living together because one is from the West Bank and another from East Jerusalem. Or they could be anti-boycott bills proliferating across the United States, designed to penalize the individuals and companies that choose to boycott Israel due to its human rights abuses. Or they can be well-funded campaigns that hurl accusations of anti-Semitism against faculty members and students who call out Israel's violations of international law. I grew up in Alabama. My father was a professor at Auburn University, and I was at Emory University in the early 60s when it desegregated. It was my religion professor, Jack Boozer, who took me and a few others to a meeting at Martin Luther King Jr.'s home. And it was the campus chaplains who led us to meetings with students at the Black colleges in the Atlanta area. And Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at Emory once, and he spoke at the Methodist General Conference in Lincoln, Nebraska in 1964, which I attended. I was greatly influenced by Vincent Harding, Mennonite minister and civil rights activist, who later in his life advocated for Palestinian rights. For me, Vincent Harding, like Martin Luther King Jr., was the embodiment of social justice grounded in faith and in love. About 15 years ago, I had moved away from Methodist membership and found Unitarian Universalism, which did not require a creed, but combined spiritual exploration with intellectual integrity and work for justice. And then I found the affiliated group, Unitarian Universalists for Justice in the Middle East. UUJME's vision is a just peace in Palestine, Israel, that reflects our UU values of respect for the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, and justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. The mission for our UUJME chapter at All Souls is to educate ourselves and our community about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, to provide a safe environment for illuminating and respectful discussion, and to influence our elected officials to demonstrate equal concern for the human and civil rights of Palestinians and Israelis. As a relatively new Unitarian Universalist, I joined All Souls in 2010. I've been attending General Assembly since 2016, when UUJME proposed a UUA business resolution urging divestment from corporations complicit in the violation of Palestinian human rights. Although the resolution received a majority positive vote, it didn't get the required 2/3 to be official policy. In 2019, UUJME joined with other UU groups in the successful action of immediate witness support our First Amendment right to boycott, which called on Unitarian Universalist and UU organizations to actively oppose anti-boycott laws across the country. And we were successful in 2020 when our business resolution embodying human rights in our investment decisions, co-sponsored by other UU groups, was adopted. Here I'd like to circle back to my earlier question. How can we act with respect for common humanity in the face of actions that are designed to silence and crush? When I see videos of Israeli settlers storming Palestinian villages, soldiers arresting Palestinian children in the middle of the night, a Palestinian family forced to demolish their own home, I am both heartbroken and enraged. When I read about killings of Israeli Jews and Palestinians, I am filled with sorrow. When the new Israeli Minister of Education cuts off the Parents Circle Family Forum's program of open dialogue with high school students, I see a government that seeks to perpetuate distance, fear, and hate. A foundational spiritual text for me is the well-known passage from Amos. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. So I need to act. Sometimes just daring to speak out is what's needed. Sometimes listening to another's pain, fear, doubts, and hopes is what I can do. Writing letters to the editor, advocating with elected officials, signing petitions, and marching, all are good opportunities. And working with others, whether on this issue or another close to our hearts, creates the possibility of moving that iconic arc forward on its path to justice. If, like UUJME, our vision is for a just peace in Palestine-Israel, the first step is to learn as much as possible about the issues. This is not always easy because the same kind of funding that has stymied reporting on fossil fuels and climate change has repressed coverage of actual conditions in Israel-Palestine. News coverage of lived experience in Palestine with voices from Palestinians is spare. Overall, American media is riddled with tropes slanted in favor of Israel. For example, framing Palestinian resistance to occupation as violent aggression, while at the same time praising Ukrainian resistance to Russia's incursion and occupation. Speaking out against Israel's unlawful and cruel treatment of Palestinians can be greeted by charges of anti-Semitism. The Palestine Rights Festival was subject to such accusations. Anti-Semitism is real and vile and must be confronted. But criticizing injustice is not anti-Semitic. Recently, many governmental agencies have adopted or considered adopting a problematic definition of anti-Semitism proposed by the IHRA, that is the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, this definition conflates anti-Semitism with opposition to Israeli violations of Palestinian human rights. UUJME offered a webinar about this last April titled Problematic IHRA Definition of Anti-Semitism, and it is available on our website. As part of UUJME's program at GA 2023, we offered a webinar, People of Faith Responding to Apartheid, featuring faith leaders from different faith traditions, including a Jewish Israeli who works with the American Friends Service Committee and a rabbi originally from South Africa. You can find out more about that in the handouts at the back, and there are lots of handouts. We have joined with other faith groups supporting the Apartheid-Free Communities campaign, and you'll find lots of references from the United Nations, international rights, human rights groups, and Palestine solidarity groups. UUJME has a legislative working group, and there is information about important legislative acts proposed here in New York State and in Congress. In summary, it feels right, and it is aspirational, to work for justice in companionship with others who are grounded in Unitarian Universalist values. There are other faith groups and secular groups who are drawn together in this effort to repair damage and enlarge human rights. And the work is so intersectional. It has everything to do with climate justice, with equity, with preserving and creating beauty, and with siding with love. So I invite you to explore this issue of justice and peace in Palestine, Israel. Thank you for your attention and for allowing me to talk with you today.
Well, please join us in our closing hymn, 399, The Vine and Fig Tree in Your Great Hymnal.
Please rise and join with us. You know, on this one as well, those people outside are going to join us, so keep an ear out. We'll repeat multiple times. Each section is twice. The vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid, and everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. Everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And into plowshares turn their swords, and nations shall learn war no more.
We extinguish the chalice, I invite you to join in extinguishing your chalice. You can find the affirmation in our order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community with the fire of closing words today come from Dr. Edward Said, who is a Palestinian scholar and intellectual who is greatly missed, I could say. He says, one notices the same discrepancies and blindness when Israeli intellectuals concentrate on their own tragedies and leave out of the equation the much greater suffering of a dispossessed people without a state or an army or an air force or a proper leadership, that is, the Palestinians whose suffering at the hands of Israel continues minute by minute, hour by hour. This sort of moral blindness, this inability to evaluate and weigh the comparative evidence of sinner and sin against, is very much the order of the day. We have our postlude, and then please join us in our parish hall for hospitality. Thank you.